ranking that lists your university, your institution.
slides as well, in addition to the important because you can look that up on your own anyways. I will explain a few things on examination-related topics, some general information, and how to get more information later on. The most crucial information probably is that I can guarantee that almost all important information can be found somewhere. The issue here is that we're not telling you where. That's in order to force you to get in touch with all the systems. No, it's just randomly nonsense. Anyways, the best hint at the beginning is get in touch with all the different systems, Toucan, Moodle, the websites, the people, the whole structure, get settled and used to everything. Create your own process of looking up information and identifying the right facilities and whatsoever. All right. Our master degrees, our master programs are actually somewhat flexible for students. We don't really have mandatory subjects in our master's degrees, master's programs. It's all about elective subjects, elective areas. For the same, you definitely need to register in some specific programs, for example, first of all, to the elective area or the specialization you want to take. I will explain later a bit about how to use Toucan correctly, because that's really a pain in the ass. Anyways, as long as you cover all the criteria defined in this slide overview, and of course the master thesis at the end, rather at the end usually, you're done. It's up to you to figure out which courses you want to go for. I usually recommend at the beginning of the master, specifically if you have not conducted a bachelor's degree here at TU Darmstadt, select a few more courses than you actually want to follow in your first semester, gather all the information in the first weeks of lectures, follow the same a bit, and then decide over time in which courses you want to drop out. Because it's not easy to see all the required details in order to take a reflected decision on the same when you don't know the systems or whatsoever, right? And you can deregister on your own in Toucan anyways till, well, somewhat shortly before the exam takes place. Of course, don't spend too much time in unnecessary courses because you will lose the time for preparation for the other courses, but it's up to you. And in that way, you can identify which courses are suiting you more in the respective semester, actually, and you can decide on the fly then, on your own. There was a question. Okay, the question is if one of you drops out of one of the courses, will it be stated on the transcript? No. On the final transcript, at the very end, it's actually German law, only the courses passed are noted down. In the interim transcripts, also the failed courses will be stated, right? But courses where you have not taken any of the achievements so far are listed as open but without any failed attempt on it. So you can easily see that you have not tried the achievement, and you can actually, if you deregister completely from, I will explain that later in Toucan, module, course and achievement, if you deregister from all three of them, it won't show up on any transcript or whatsoever. Any other question already? Yes. Infinitely often. You have to meet the deadlines. There, of course, I mean, as soon as the registration period is over, you're not able to register in the same semester again and whatsoever. And if the course is not provided in the future, then at some point it will just stop, right? Anyhow, till then, you can register, deregister. If you want to take the repeat exam in the following semester, you should stay registered to the module and the course. You only have to deregister the exam because then you can register on your own for the repeat exam in the following semester. If you deregister the course and the module as well, you have to ask the examination office to register you again in the following semester. But that's allowed and possible, but courses, a lot of extra work. We have roughly 4,500 students enrolled in our department alone. If everyone is just asking for one extra registration each semester and it takes us, let's assume 30 seconds, we have 2,000 few hundred minutes of extra work. Don't, please, reduce it to the minimum, right? You will get to know that. Ask your fellow students who have already been here for some time, for example, they all know Toucan and how to use it and probably not. Oops. All right, so because it's essentially comparable or almost identical in the different study programs, I will just have a closer look into the informatic, the German taught informatic program, but it's essentially the same for the electives, the selection, whatever, for all the study programs. But as an example, so in the German taught computer science program, informatic, and that was actually one of the issues we didn't have to deal with in the past, on the central website of the central facilities, they stated, when we had no English taught computer science program before, 2 years ago, for example. And on the central website, it was MSc Informatik, and the English translation on the website was MSc Computer Science. And then we introduced additionally an MSc Computer Science, which is different from MSc Informatik. And we told them, and they were like, that might cause issues on the English translated websites. Yes, but that's not our issue. If you can somehow manage it, make everything to an SEP and somebody else's problem. That's a really good thing to do. I actually no idea how they solved the issue. No idea. Anyways, so we're talking about MSc Informatik, the German taught program. You need to conduct 66 to 72 credits from computer science consisting of the so-called Fachprüfung, so examination, or closer to regular examination-related courses. It's actually a formal distinction due to legal base differentiation. We call it Fachprüfung, essentially lectures, integrated lectures, which are lectures, but probably including some lab or seminar part as well, or something else, ending with an oral or written exam at the end. So that's most likely in the area of the Fachprüfungen. And 9 to 18 credits in the so-called Studienleistung or Studienbegleitende Leistung, essentially where the seminars and labs and teaching interns are located, right? And you can see that you can shift credits between these areas. So you can, if you're more hands-on, you can gather a bit more credits in labs, for example, and conduct less credits in the exam-related achievements, and the other way around. So it's just a small possibility, but it helps students if they can't identify good exam-related courses, for example, anymore, or whatever. There's one specific form that can be conducted on individual base, very rarely given, but applicable if, for example, you still have a few credits left in the Studienbegleitenden area, and you don't want to take a whole course for the same. You can probably ask your supervisors for the thesis at the end whether it's possible to conduct a so-called Studienarbeit. That's the only type of course we are not offering in Tukan. You can't register, you don't have to register in Tukan. Everything else has to be registered in Tukan. That's the leading tool. But that's a very individual thing. It can, or it should have somewhat between 1 and 15, 20 ECTS credits on it. And at the end, your supervisors just have to send a written certification letter to the examination office stating, the student XY with the matriculation number XY has conducted a Studienarbeit with the name XY and XY credits with the grade XY. And then the examination office is going to enter that in Tukan on an individual base. That's usually used to cover a small amount of credits in the seminar lab area, or, for example, if you're interested to work with a different university via a project or something. That's a very specific form. That's the reason why I usually mention that as well. And rather towards the end, of course, the 30 ECTS master's thesis. Why rather towards the end? Well, formally you could start with your thesis. There's no restriction. You don't need to cover a specific amount of credits in order to be allowed to register for the same or whatsoever. Yet, you need to find a supervisor. Out of the professorial members or members in our department allowed to supervise a thesis, and usually in the first 1 or 2 semesters, it's not that easy to find a supervisor because they don't know you yet. So why should they supervise your thesis, right? There are no altruists, specifically not at a university. They all have their own interests in the thesis topics offered, either because it's used for a doctorate candidate or postdoc phase or a project or the group itself. And of course, they need and want to get something good out of the thesis. So they usually go for applicants for a topic who have at least conducted 1 or 2 of their own courses, for example. That's the reason why it's usually hard to find a supervisor for a thesis at the beginning of your studies if you have not already studied here, for example, the bachelor's degree. I think last week a student dropped by and was asking whether he could start with a master thesis because he will follow up on his bachelor thesis. Yes, formally possible. So, in case you have any questions, just raise your hand and I will try to answer all the questions directly in between. There are 2 questions online. What? That's not a question. There should be audio now. Cool. Thanks for the information. Will we be able to find the slides later on online? Yes, yes, of course, somewhere. All right, so with the microphone, in the Moodle course from the Students' Council, at some point you will find also the slides of the orientation days. All right, so yeah. All right. So the question from the auditorium was, what's exactly the difference, or what's in general the difference between the specialized degrees and the more generic computer science, for example, also Informatik, German taught. That's exactly the difference. Due to the structure and the courses included, you can focus a bit more on the topics of the specialization. But on the other hand, you're of course not able then to study in the same broadness as you can in the more generic study programs. There are a lot of courses available in both degrees. And you could, for example, also enroll in both degrees, transfer credits matching, and get both degrees at the end. That's possible, including the master thesis if it's contextually fitting. But due to the structure, there will be a difference of at least 20-something credits in between the specialized programs and the Master Informatik. The general education area, Studium Generale, is slightly different in size. For example, in the IT security, you only have 5 to 6 credits Studium Generale. In the Informatik Master, 12 to 24 something, or 18 to 24 something, right? So at least there are 2 or 3 different courses, not that many non-computer science, computer system security courses in the complementary topics area possible. So you will have to focus a bit stronger on IT security, for example, in this program. The difference is always roughly a minimum of roughly 1 semester. Roughly. Our recommendation is actually to have a distinction of roughly 2 semesters, because you will see which credits are transferred on the transcripts at the end, and HR people are not stupid, at least not all of them, and they will have a look into your transcript, not only the certificates at the end. And if you take exactly the same courses for 2 degrees, they will ask you why. And then you should have some good explanation. And we learned that as soon as you reach roughly 30 credits of distinction between your degrees, you have a lot of small explanations, at least, like I did some other labs here to just gather more hands-on experience in a different area. I selected different courses. I did more language courses in this study program because I want to enhance my language skill in, I don't know, Swahili, whatsoever, right? Usually it's quite uncommon to conduct 2 different master theses. That's really the most uncommon situation. Happened probably, I don't know, 5 times the last 20 years. So just make sure that you have your own explanation with it. It's a subject-specific point of view. You need to be sure that your argumentation is fine and suitable, right? Formally and legally, we're not hindering you to transfer an arbitrary amount of credits in between our study programs. But there is, of course, a limit due to the structure. All right, any other question already? Was that answered sufficiently so far? Yes, the most flexibility, the most freedom of choice is always given in the Master Informatik, because you can essentially, besides these small limits, like a minimum of 6 credits in theory, minimum of 6 credits in software, hardware, and so on, you can just randomly select your own combination of courses. And if you're not interested in computer graphics, HCI, and whatsoever, just go for something else, right? In the specializations or the specialized programs, the selection possibility is a bit reduced. So therefore, you may have to take some courses you're probably not that interested in order to cover all the credit criteria, for example. Yes?
There's a question from the cyberspace. How many credit points do I have to achieve to be able to register for the master thesis?
Oh, that was an easy question. You probably won't find a supervisor, but there is no formal restriction for the registration of a thesis.
Some more questions. I'm currently enrolled in the Master of Science Informatik, but I might want to switch to Master of Science IT Security. Is there anything special to consider?
Yes. First of all, it's an English taught program, the IT security program. You therefore need to provide a language certificate suitable on C1 level in the European reference framework, or relatable. Depending whether you have a German Matura or relatable, you have to provide the same to us directly. If you have an international Matura or university qualification, you need to provide the language certificate or proof of language skills to the International Admission Office. And there's an exclusion deadline in the applications for the English taught programs. So if you want to switch to for the next summer semester, for example, into an English taught program, you need to finalize the online application in Toucan till at latest 15th of January. You can submit the required PDF you will get out, and that's one of the a bit misleading situations in Toucan, probably. At the end, you will first of all encounter the information, everything's fine, but it isn't. Go to the overview of the applications if you finalize the same. Print the application and be surprised that you won't get the whole application out of it, but a short PDF of 2 or 3 pages. And we need the PDF via application@informatik. Nothing to do for you, actually, but we need the application PDF in order to state that you have not finally failed a mandatory course, for example, in the new program. We don't have mandatory courses in our programs, in the masters. And we still have to stamp and sign these fields for every one of you then. And if you request to get adjusted to a higher semester, we have to cross-check that and, right? That's crucial, essential, but delivering the PDF can be done way later. The exclusion deadline is just to create the PDF online. And you don't have to submit everything else again, right? Because we have your documents ready and set in the central facilities. So it's a bit faster, a bit easier. It's toucan. Make sure that you don't get anything wrong. Meet the deadlines, provide the material required, and then switch to the other program. If you were already admitted to one of our master's degrees, you will definitely be admitted to the other ones as well. Probably depending on the prerequisites defined, specifically autonomous systems and robotics, there may be then imposed conditions, remedial coursework to be done. But that's essentially it. Any other questions? This internet. Wait, there's actually a question from the auditorium, first of all. Wait, can you please repeat that a bit louder? Okay, fair enough. So the question was if you have not received your matriculation number or TU ID actually, that's more important, till now, whether you can already join the course, follow the course and whatever. Yes, of course. That's a really high recommendation in order to gather all the information which will be given in the first week of lectures. Look up the dates via the course schedule in Toucan. Ask fellow students if you can't find the information. Be there, gather the material and information from your fellow students until you receive your TU ID and then register later on. That's one of the reasons why the registration period is that long. It's quite a common situation that a lot of specifically international students are getting their credentials way later in the semester. Some are actually enrolled in December also. Yeah? That's a common situation, well known by the lecturers. Be there, get all the information, register later on. All right, so then, the internet again.
Hello, internet. I will be arriving a little late, about a week or 2 after the class is beginning due to visa delays. Is it possible to attend lectures online till then? And related to that question, how are lectures or exercises recorded? Do many professors do that?
The answer to the first question is depends. We have the so-called freedom of teaching and research in Germany. Die Freiheit von Studium und Lehre. That essentially leads to the situation that we can't almost interfere with anything our professors and lecturers are doing. It's their decision whether they want to record or stream, how to provide the material, which systems they want to use, and of course, at least slightly, which content they're dealing with in their lectures or courses. We can't force them to provide a specific course, we can't force them to drop a specific course or whatsoever. So, depending on the individual courses, it might be recorded or streamed or both. It might be offered via the Moodle course or on the websites or whatsoever. You have to look that up, get in touch with the Students' Council via, for example, Discord or the other students via the Geek Hub Discord. Ask fellow students to provide the necessary information if you can't find it on your own. That's really the most important part if you are not able to join in presence directly or if you can't access the systems because you have not received your credentials yet. There's unfortunately not really a better solution for the same. Including all the seminars and labs, we offer roughly 100 to 200 courses each semester. I'm happy that I know most of the names of our professors, right? I actually have no idea whether, for example, in computer vision 1 or 2, something is recorded or not. Because I'm not able to access all Moodle courses and all websites each and every offering semester. That's your job. Because, and that's to ease our situation, because we are almost not able to interfere in anything, there's also the so-called Selbstinformationspflicht der Studierenden. Welcome to the bureaucratic Republic of Germany. So, Selbstinformationspflicht, that essentially means we are forced to provide all the information, but we don't have to tell you where. Welcome to the beginning of my talk, and it's your responsibility to look up the information and gather the information on your own. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not. It's easy. As soon as you get adjusted, it's going to be a flow, and then at some point a no-brainer, actually. And it's usually just the first few weeks in the first semester where you stumble a bit and you need to get in touch with more people, which is essentially a good help anyways, right? Talk to fellow students. They may have other experience, good hints, tips, whatever. Probably you can find a learning group with that as well. Really helpful for gathering fast information and feedback, for example. So talk to the others, join all the Discord servers, keep on asking the questions, and if nothing else works, nag the Students' Council. All right, so next question.
Next
That's
question.
actually what the blue thingies mean. You can nag them at any time. So.
True that. When registering for IT security courses, there are many courses, labs and seminars that were German taught. How these will work out considering I'm not fluent in German. I thought this is an English taught program.
Okay, so first of all, German taught, English taught program, what does that actually mean? If in Germany a program is English taught officially, formally, then you have to be able to finalize it completely in English. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are not allowed to offer German courses. As we also have German study programs and electives, there will always be a mixture of German and English taught courses in our department. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able, for example, to offer electives in the bachelor's degree. So, there will always be a mixture. Additionally, in this specific situation, the IT security has started a bit later than the other English taught programs, so they're in transition to switch more courses to English at the moment. So several courses, for example, in the German taught IT security program beforehand, Introduction to Cryptography was mandatory. So it has to be given in German, at least for some time now. They already prepared English recordings. So there will be a mixture. Usually. English slides and German recordings, the other way around, English material as recommendations, or German material as recommendation, German and English consultation hours, and the exams will all be given in English and German, for example. So it's not the nicest situation, but it's applicable to follow a lot of those courses, not necessarily all of them. So some of them will definitely stick to be German, at least partly. Because let's be honest, English is the language in computer science worldwide. So even in the officially German taught courses, also in the bachelor's, you will find a lot of English material from time to time. But yeah, so it is in transition. There will be more completely English taught courses in the future, and at the moment you will find a mixture in a lot of the courses. So, and that's another reason why you should select a bit more courses at the beginning of the term, specifically in your first semester, in order to gather the details which part of the specific course is actually German and English at the moment. The next thing here, the lecturers can change the language of instruction without letting us know. So again, I'm not able to provide any detailed information about a specific course. If you encounter any problems, any issues there, let us know. Of course, we can at least get in touch with them and politely ask them, change that. Could you please change that? But it doesn't necessarily have an effect. With most of our professors it has. We have a good standing in the dean's office with our professors, but not all of them are willing to change something. All right. There's a question in the auditorium first. Pardon once again? Okay, the question is when the courses are starting, from next week on. Next week on. That's always the case. Every semester, the week after the orientation days are taking place for the freshmen, the lectures are going to start. Mainly the lectures and integrated lectures, some seminars or lectures held in a block system, or labs may start a little later, for example, with a kickoff meeting or whatsoever. Look up the group's websites, look up the information in Toucan, and then try to figure out which course is actually starting when and when you have to drop by, for example, in a kickoff meeting for a seminar or lab. But the lectures are starting from next week on mainly, few exceptions. Any other question? Internet.
I did a bachelor's program that took 7 semesters. Is it possible to get some of those modules credited?
I answered this question in person yesterday already. And I don't believe that there is more than one student running around with a 210 ECTS credit European degree, actually. Anyhow, without a mandatory internship or something. Okay. See me surprised.
So yes or no?
So okay, yes. Under specific circumstances, if you have conducted a bachelor's degree covering more than the required 180 ECTS credits here in our university, and if the content of whatever you want to transfer is matching into your degree here, and it was not used for your admission, in that case, we can transfer up to the difference between the study programs into the masters as well. That has to be cross-checked on individual base. Send the bachelor's transcript to Beratung at Informatik, the advisory email address, and ask for a verification whether it can be transferred or not. It will take some time. That's not easy to solve in detail. Yes, right. So in the general education area, Studium Generale, of course, everything that's not computer science can be transferred there. If you have, there are exceptions though. For example, if you have conducted a 207-semester bachelor's, 210 ECTS credits, but 30 ECTS credits were conducted via a industry internship, then you still have only 180 credits on contentious competencies covered. No credits to be transferred. Duale Hochschule Baden-Württemberg zum Beispiel. That's a quite common situation. So it really has to be contentially 210 or more credits. But for example, in other countries, there are completely different systems. And if you translate the units or credits, you will reach 240, 280, 190, so we can transfer 10 credits. Very strange. So it's actually quite uncommon for German degrees that something can be transferred. There are a few ones with a mandatory exchange semester. Those are applicable, for example. There's the 1 semester 30 ECTS credits internship in industry, right? And then you only have covered 180 on content that matches our bachelor's degree, and therefore it's not possible to transfer credits from the bachelor's to the master's. All right.
Speaking of crediting credits, I did some CP while in my bachelor as vorgezogene Masterleistung. They are now not showing either in Toucan for my master or bachelor. Help?
Help? Tja. No, at some point in time, probably after submitting the master thesis, the examination office is going to transfer the vorgezogene Masterleistung into your degree, if they match the structure or the content, of course. If you want to get that on your transcript faster, send an email to the Studienbüro and ask to transfer the credits from the vorgezogene Masterleistung to the master's degree, actually. And then they will pop up on the transcript.
Is there a possibility to have a master thesis that is in cooperation with a company?
Okay, I've seen the question. So the question is whether you can do an external thesis. In general, yes. As I stated earlier, there are no altruists, they have their expectations and their goals for offering their own topics. So, and you need to find a supervisor out of the allowed members of our department. In any case, whether you want to conduct an internal or an external thesis. So the most important question here is, why should they supervise a topic from a company if they have their own topics ready and steady, right? It has to be fancy enough. So it has to be research related, it has to match their research projects, for example, it has to match their doctorate thesis or whatsoever, to at least get them to be slightly interested. And then it's their individual decision about capacities and whatsoever, whether they want to supervise it. If you can't find a supervisor for the same, it's not possible. Then you have to stick with the internal offers, right? The more research related such an offer is, the more applicable usually. And of course, the more interesting probably the company is. So I'd say if you get an offer from IBM Research somewhat, some of our groups may have interest. If you get an offer by some small startup doing random stuff nearby, they may probably be not, right? So it also comes down to the company size, the history, the connection, the topic, whatever. The biggest issue, the companies usually want to get something usable out of your thesis, right? So very hands-on, practically usable. That's not what we want to see in our master's thesis. Research-oriented studies. So you should answer an open research question. Developing or implementing a wheel the 1000th time is not of interest for research. And companies usually ask something like, could you develop something with a form on the website and a database in behind and something, I don't know, a fancy recommender system or whatsoever for our customers? Oh, come on, that's boring. There are ready, steady, open source solutions for the same. So why should someone supervise a thesis with that, right? And that's the whole idea. You could try to create your own add-on chapter. So that's the hands-on work. But could you use a secured framework, for example, and how is that usable? Might be of interest for security. I've seen there's a completely new way of dealing with software engineering processes, so that might be of interest then to try it out for the software engineering groups. But then it causes more workload. And that's quite often the outcome of an external thesis, slightly more workload to make it applicable for both sides, right? And not as easy as to find an internal thesis one. So that's a lot of information for this short question. Wait, there's a question upstairs. No, you don't have to rise up. You just need to raise your voice. We can't be able to help if there's any question on visa issues, Ausländerbehörde related things or whatsoever. The best shot in our university, for example, is the ISS, the International Student Service. They're in touch with the Ausländerbehörde from time to time anyways. The Students' Council can provide more information whom to get in touch with, for example. The International Mission Office, of course, as well. But we don't, as the department, we don't really have any direct contact to the central facilities, the bureaucracy or whatsoever. That's dealt with by the central facilities. So the student service, the international student service, international admission, whatsoever. They have consultation hours. If you can't get an email or whatsoever, try to attend the consultation hours. Unfortunately, the Ausländerbehörde in Darmstadt is booked solid. They have way too few people working there. Long rows, long waiting times. You usually have a Fiktionsbescheinigung then. Just stay in Darmstadt for the interim time, or at least in Germany or something. You want to add something?
Yes, one addition is the Stuwe, the Studierendenwerk Darmstadt. They have personal contact with the Foreign Citizens Office. They know of the problems, they can help you even with some housing issues as an international student. I would greatly advise you to visit the Stuwe, look at their websites. They have a good program that is called Come Together. There you will find the aid you need, and especially if you have problems going on the private housing market in Darmstadt or have no experience with it, they have contacts to a bit separate private housing market, and they may help you with it. And they have personal contacts with the Foreign Citizens Office. No guarantees, but.
Before we answer the next questions, I will just follow my slides a bit further, right? Otherwise, it would be completely nonsense to create these slides every semester. Okay, so essentially, what we already discussed and whatever is essentially true and holding true for all the other programs. So just a slight overview of our different programs, especially, no, that was just a joke. So autonomous systems, robotics, as you can see, it's always the same. We have elective areas, minima, maxima defined. You can say that you have to conduct a seminar in this program, for example, because you need to cover a minimum of 3 credits in this area, and so on. So with these overviews, it's easy to plan ahead, at least, probably not with specific courses, but at least you will know which areas you have to go for in which semester, for example. There is a slight difference in the computer science program, because before you can actually register the course in your specialization, you need to register the specialization. I will show that later on in the live demo of Toucan, right? And as you can see, 18 to 24 credits, general education, 17, 5 to 6 here, 5 to 6 here, 18 to 24 here. That's one of the differentiations I meant earlier, right? So slight differences in the structure leading to a few different courses with comparing the different study programs. As you applied for these programs, you should probably have a slight idea what is included. If not, it's going to be probably a surprise. And a lot more interesting then. Right, so looked it up in the official regulations on the website, essentially stating the same information, providing you a little bit more time to think it through, right? So, all right, let's go to the examination-related topics. As I already said, there's the legal base differentiation between Studienbegleitende Leistung or Studienleistung und Fachprüfung, whatever. And in the Fachprüfungen, so the lectures, integrated lectures with the oral written exams usually at the end, you only have 3 attempts, independently from each other with respect to time. So you can just take your first attempt and then wait till the lecture happens the next time, for example, or a year after usually, and go for the second attempt. Or you can even wait a bit longer if you want to. You can as well go for the repeat exam taking place usually in the next semester, without the lecture itself taking place. So, let's just assume that whysoever you failed 3 times, then there is per study program once the possibility of the so-called supplementary oral exam, mündliche Ergänzungsprüfung, under specific circumstances. If you fail one subject a second time, you will be invited to a talk, provided by me again, where we can actually discuss a bit more detail what was probably the reason, what could be done without risking your study program, and what happens if you finally fail, and so on and so forth. There was one suitable question for the same anyways. There was, do I have to repeat failed course, or can I switch to a different one? In all the exam-related areas, Fachprüfung, we defined paragraph 35 from the GET, the General Examination Terms, Allgemeine Prüfungsbestimmungen, stating that you can remove one failed subject before the last attempt without any reasons from each of the areas. Right? So in AI, in complex network systems, in the Master Informatik, for example, or in the AI ML program, in Foundations of AI, and in, I forgot the names, AI models and methods, for example, you can move one open subject after you attempted it the first time and failed, or the second time. As soon as you register for the third and last attempt, the lawyer's office is included in the whole process as well, because if you fail the same, including the supplementary exam, you will be exmatriculated. That's it. Finally failed the study program. That's, in general, a very important information in Germany. We're talking about Verwaltungsrecht. I will probably add that to the intercultural talk on Friday. If you ask before something happens, at least usually, a lot of things can be done. As soon as something is done, like the exam is written, almost nothing we can do anymore, right? And here, specifically, exactly the same. Before the third attempt, you can remove one open subject from each and every area. If you run into the issue with the second one, just drop by in person and we can discuss potential solutions on individual base. In the general education area, the whole idea is that we don't want to have computer science students finally failing in a subject of different department. You can remove an infinite amount of failed subjects in the general education, Studium Generale area, before the last attempt. Again, that's just the given law, right? So no, you don't need to finalize all of them, but just assume that you register to 6 modules in the same area, or 6 achievements, and you fail all of them. Some of them have to be repeated and finalized then, right? So make sure that that doesn't happen too often. That's the reason why you can deregister from exams till 7 days? 7 days? 7 days? 7 days before the exam takes place on your own in Toucan. So you have a very long period of time to think through whether you can actually pass the exam or not. And if you're too unsure, deregister, right? That's completely fine. We're not forcing anyone to cover a specific amount of credits per time or whatsoever. We have the only rule we have is actually from the Hessian university law. University law in Germany is federal state law, so difference between different federal states in Germany. And this specific paragraph, this specific law states that students who are not passing at least one achievement for their studies every second year can get exmatriculated. So if you only take 3 credits courses, which is not possible, but by numbers, you could stay enrolled correctly in our degrees for 63 years. That's not a recommendation. But therefore, you don't have to hurry up unnecessarily. Of course, there are external restrictions like duration of visa or whatsoever. You have to take that into account, but in between this period of time, you can ease your situation a bit, you can relax a bit, specifically at the beginning. As soon as you're adjusted to the level and the content and the different groups and whatsoever, it's way easier to decide earlier whether you want to switch the subjects in the same semester, for example, or whatsoever. But at the beginning, if you're too unsure, probably deregister instead of going for an attempt and fail it unnecessarily, right? All right. Removal, good reasons, registrations. Even though you will find a lot of extra information, probably the most important information on the websites of the different groups or the Moodle courses used, you have to register in Toucan. This is the leading tool. And you need to register to Moodle's courses and examinations. I will show that later in the live demo as well. That's really pain in the ass. And you can find a lot of extra information on the website of the examination office. There's not really good translation for Studienbüro anyways, but it's in German nowadays called Studienbüro here at TU Darmstadt. And you can look up more information like the registration periods, for example, all the forms for deregistering belated, for the master thesis registration, and so on and so forth. Any questions on exam-related topics? Okay. Examination-related topics. All right. What we already discussed a bit at least, it's possible to take up more than one of our degrees, of our study programs. And then, in order to combine them, you need to register modules and courses in one of them. And if they're included in the other one, you can transfer it. Or if it's contentiously matching, it doesn't necessarily have to be selectable in the other program. It has to match contentiously and structurally. There is no limit, but as I said, it's not a really good idea to get 2 degrees for exactly the same achievements. So you should have your own reasoning ready and steady. And it has to be requested, because it's your decision. It's not forced, right, to transfer the credits. So you could play strategically around a bit, take some courses if you already know that you want to switch to a different program, and then decide later on which of the grades should be transferred, for example. That's another option, for example, if you finally fail a subject, or if you run into the issue to having too many failed subjects in one degree. You could switch to another degree here and only transfer the past courses, for example. That's one of the to-be-discussed solutions if you run into bigger issues there, right? Okay, first, second, and then the internet. If it's German and English, or actually even though it might be stated as German, okay, sorry. I have to repeat the question. I always forget the same. The question was, in which language will be the exam given if it's a German/English or a German or English course? In most of the cases, the exam will be provided in both languages anyways, specifically in the lectures, integrated lectures. If not, ask the lecturer whether it's possible, if it's a German taught course, for example, officially, whether you can get an English translated exam. That's usually applicable in most of the lectures. If it's German and English, it's also offered in both English and German. That's usually stated on the seminars and labs mainly. No oral or written exams anyways at the end. With a seminar or lab, you usually have to hand in some written report about your results and probably provide a short talk. And of course, you can provide both, either in German or English. All our members are able to understand both. So for seminars and labs, it should be almost completely fine to conduct them either completely in English or completely in German. So and for the lectures, integrated lectures, at least the exam will be translated most likely. All right. Second one. Okay, the question is there a given time frame for transferring credits? Not really. Of course, it still has to be somewhat relatable, right? So in computer science, within 5 years, no issue at all. 5 to 10 years, most of the topics are somewhat similar, even though there are changes. After 10 years, a lot of computer science areas change a lot. So after 10 years, it's getting more unlikely that you will get all the credits transferred. Up to 10 years, we usually don't have a closer look because it's caused so much workload anyways, right? All right. Any other questions from the auditorium? No. Internet.
Is there any other way to register for courses than Toucan?
Additionally to Toucan, you have to register probably in one of the Moodle systems used at our university or somewhere else. But there's no way around to register in Toucan besides this very specific form of Studienarbeit. Everything else has to be registered in Toucan. At some point, besides you probably just want to get the material and don't want to go for the exam at the end or whatever, and you don't want to get that on your transcript, then of course you don't need to register in Toucan.
So the thing is, I found courses in the module handbook, but that I cannot find in Toucan. What about that?
The course description handbooks, the Modulhandbücher, are a general overview of everything that could be existing. As I said, the professors can decide on their own when they offer specific courses, for example. So it might be the case that one of the courses in the module handbook may be offered in 2 years, one time, and then again, not for 5 years. That's just the way it is. Yes. Yes, okay. And, thanks, so the input was that there are additional courses in Toucan not enlisted in the course description handbook. We have to create them by hand in Word. The last time for the development of the study programs, it took us more than 40 complete hours to create these module handbooks. That's one of the reasons we're not that eager to update them each and every week, for example. We hired some students now who are helping us. They needed a Toucan introduction, a whole day, and back-end access and whatever. That was not really easy to handle. Usually, so what should happen that the module handbooks are updated at the beginning of each semester. These modules you encountered in Toucan are newer than the creation of the module handbooks on the websites. As long as you can see a course in a specific area in Toucan, register for the same, it will be counted. Toucan is the leading tool, right? We know about the issue, we're trying to solve it in the future. In the past it was sheer not possible, unfortunately. But that's also something, we offer a lot of courses, but they vary across the semesters. So therefore, it's not possible to, or at least not always for all of the courses, to rely that you can actually, in your period of studies, take a very specific course. That's not possible. We guarantee that there are sufficient credits to be covered in all the areas you need to finalize your degree. A lot of the lectures and integrated lectures are given on regular basis anyways, so every winter or every summer semester, right? The more basic and generic ones for the groups, for example. But these very specific ones are sometimes held, for example, by doctorate candidates. And after 3 to 5 years, they finalize the doctorate and leave the university. And of course, the course is not given anymore, but probably the professor is going to offer that again if he has some spare time and interest a few years later. We have to be complete. So that's unfortunately, you always have to use the module handbook and the websites and Toucan in order to identify what's actually be selectable and applicable in the respective semester term, right? That's the drawback of having this big freedom of choice in the study programs. If we fix everything, we of course have to guarantee that it's offered, but then we can of course also tell the future. In our situation, we can't, but you have way more possibilities in general. Meh. Both have some flaws and some benefits, whatsoever. All right.
One short thing, before we get more questions regarding Toucan, there will be a presentation this afternoon regarding Toucan. We are really short on time because we also have to deal with the ULB slots. So we will skip these questions and he held them for this afternoon for the Toucan and Moodle topic.
Said that, I have some more information about Toucan on the next slide. All right. So I have to hurry up a bit, apparently. Remedial coursework and post conditions. Some of you may actually have received the requirement to pass some exams from the bachelor's program within 1 year, topmost 2 attempts, and whatsoever. The imposed conditions are usually provided due to our point of view on your submitted documents. It may be wrong because we missed a specific course, for example. Usually we look at the course description handbooks provided or available, but still, so many applicants, there may be an error. We usually provide only the courses that can be passed in a good way in 1 or 2 attempts. We're leaving out all the courses that have a high failure rate in the first attempt from our bachelors in general. So, because we need to cover this gap to our prerequisites, but we don't want to lose you unnecessarily, right? So, under specific circumstances, they can be changed. If we made an error, a mistake, let us cross-check the same again, and if it was a mistake, for example, it's possible to drop a few of the remedial coursework or the imposed conditions. Or if you state, I got, I don't know, automata theory as imposed condition, but I'm more interested in modeling, specification, and semantics. That's not an exam that can easily be passed in the first attempt. Modeling, specification, anyways. Really interesting topics. Theoretical computer science. That's my part of computer science. Anyways, then you can get in touch with us, and if we can't drop, we can at least switch the imposed condition to something probably more interesting for you on an individual base. Those are the 2 circumstances under which imposed conditions can be changed, right? For the first one and the second one, we definitely need to cross-check your transcript from the bachelor's degree again, or all your transcripts that have not been conducted at TU Darmstadt. Please don't stress out if you see an area in Toucan, Auflagen, imposed conditions, remedial coursework, whatever it's named at the moment, where a lot of different courses you don't even know by name are popping up. This is a generic area for all students in all master's degrees. You will find whether you have remedial coursework to be done and which courses have to be passed on your admission letters from the department. Look those up in order. And if you can't find them, if you have not received them, if you have any questions on the same, just let us know and drop by in the consultation house in the student advisory, for example. Right? Okay. Any other questions on imposed conditions? Auf gar keinen Fall während der O-Phase. Nächste Woche. Nächste Woche in die Sprechstunde oder ein bisschen warten. Wir arbeiten die nacheinander ab. Es kommen ganz viele E-Mails jetzt rein. Die Frage, ja, noch 6 Minuten, alles klar, ich beeile mich. So the question was, I already sent an email, have not received any answer. Can I see you directly after the talk? No. But next week in the consultation hours, or just wait probably a few days longer because we receive a lot of questions from freshmen specifically to remedial coursework at the beginning, and we have to process them. It takes a bit of time. If not, just drop by next week, Tuesday or Wednesday between 10 and 12 in the consultation hours, right? Psst. Hey, wait a second. Yeah, or just use the microphone, or probably speak up a bit. Sorry, I didn't get the last few sentences, unfortunately. Here to Darmstadt. Okay. All right. So the question was, I have already been studying in a different program, for example. I have registered to some modules or courses, but I've not taken the achievements, the exams, or whatsoever. Now I switched to study program and I can't access the old registrations anymore. Send an email to the examination office. They will delete the registration from your old degree, and then you can register from scratch on your new degree again. So that's also a quite common situation. If you just want to try it out in a bachelor's, in the electives, you register for something, you forget to deregister the module because you're not really sure whether you want to take the repeat exam, then it's stuck in the bachelor's, and then you can't access it as soon as you switch to the master's. That's a short email to the examination office, and then it will, after 1 or 2 days, you will be able to register it again in the master's. Right. Okay, only 4 or 5 minutes, wait. Part-time studies, if you fulfill one of the criteria, you can enroll into part-time studies. Not really much change in our department. As I said, you can be enrolled for 63 years, roughly. But the remedial coursework has to be conducted then in 2 years. 2 attempts still per subject, but you have 2 years time to pass these imposed conditions. And also automatically in our department and in general, the period for conducting the thesis doubles. So you have a 1-year period then, because usually you won't have that much time if you fulfill the criteria, and then it's really helpful that you have a bit more time to write your thesis and work on it and whatsoever. There's a service center for the same. They have more information, and they're the ones to decide the same anyways. So get in touch with them if you think that you may actually fulfill the criteria and want to enroll in part-time studies. There will be a talk tomorrow on a stay abroad actually as well, so it's really important for your CV, specifically if you want to go into academic career. You need to start quite early. The master's is very short. There's a 1 and 1.5 year lead time from application to your stay abroad. So you should definitely think about if you want to go abroad next year or the summer semester after, you should apply this November. So if you're somewhat interested in a stay abroad during your master's degree here, join the talk tomorrow on stays abroad, right? Or look up the websites and drop by in the consultation hour as well. As I said, we distribute all the information. We're not telling you where exactly, but look up the websites of the student advisory service, of your study program, get in touch with the people in the Discord servers, look up information in Tucan, look up your emails from time to time, and. Create your own system. That's most helpful in the first few weeks. Identify all the relevant websites and channels and whatsoever, and create some kind of overall process you're getting used to, and then it's easy to look up from time to time the relevant information, right? The examination office is reachable from Monday to Thursday via phone. They have consultation hours also via Zoom if you're not here or yet not here, or on Wednesdays in presence. You can find more information on their websites, and you can reach me and my colleagues in the student advisory service. Also for exchange affairs, Tuesdays and Wednesdays between 10 a.m. And 12 p.m. In D115 downstairs, and you can send emails to the functional email addresses we have, right? Exchange, Ausland @ advisory, Beratung @ and so on and so forth. That should be easy to handle. It's always function at unit tu-darmstadt.de. Something. That was really quick run. Any important questions I can still answer? Or I have no time at all? Okay. Okay, any question I can answer in 1 minute?
Did you talk about Auflagen?
Yes, I did. That was easy. Another question. Talk to the others. They will tell you when the lecture's for. Huh? Pardon once again. Yeah, there is no control of your attendance, there is no mandatory presence or whatsoever, so for the lectures is easy. My recommendation is to start with the seminars and labs in the second semester anyways, because then you can learn all the groups and learn about more about the groups and whatever, because the labs and seminars are used to prepare for the thesis. I would really go for lectures and integrated lectures first of all, because it eases your specific situation as well. Just be in the lecture hall, listen, ask your fellow students for the material, and as soon as you have your credentials, register in TUCAD and Moodle and whatsoever. Right? Here I come. All right then, I have to leave you, unfortunately. I will have another talk later on, so see you later. Have fun. Till then. Badunk, 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 badunk. Ah, das dürft ihr nicht einfach reinstecken. Die Kabel sind alle unterschiedlich. Mir ist das Ding letztens abgeschmiert, weil falsche Amperezahl. Bei einer Dockingstation. Die ThinkPads, die scheiß Dockingstations sehen alle identisch aus. Und wir haben 3 davon.
Wait.
So, we have still some slides for you. And afterwards we will go to the library and to the Mensa with you together. We have 1, 2, 3, and we need 2 more people that can go with you to the library. So, well, we can skip that one.
So, some points that came up during the lecture. This is our party. This is the QR code for it if you want to scan it now. Some most important information is you need your name tag to access the online shop. Take your Studierendenausweis, your paper card with you. It's important, otherwise you won't get in. You have until... Ask me later, I will answer then. It's way too loud in here. You have exclusive access until the rest of the day. Afterwards, it will be open for every student at the faculty, so do it today or you might not get in. Next slide. This is our Moodle course. If you want to register for it, this is the QR code for it. You have to scan it and then log in. You will get these slides afterwards also, but do it now if you want to. This is our Discord. This is our main method of communicating with people or you getting in touch with us. There are some channels, we mainly use it for organization, but you can ask questions there. For computer science students, the Geek Hub, that's an unofficial Discord for the computer science department. It's really useful if you want to connect with people and get like older exams or something in this place, because it's mainly the only place you will get them. Okay. This is the Master Informatik Discord. It's an additional Discord for master students. There are individual channels for the different subjects you have, so also register for it. This is a general overview. Everyone who was not able to scan any of the links now can do so now. And now we do the library slots perfectly.
So we start with those who do not have an Athena card and do not have cash on hand. So the required amount to go to the Mensa would be around 10 to 15 euros. Those of you, raise your hands now. We will want to see how many of those they are.
No cash and no card for the Mensa.
Nein.
Oh, the stream we can end now? By stream? We'll
Come
see.
downstairs.